April brings another stacked month for the MMA calendar. The PFL's 2023 season kicks off in this month, so that is where we will start on Saturday, April 1st. The light heavyweights and lightweights are up first with the UK's own Brendan Loughnane, looking to continue the form that saw him win the tournament last year. He is in the main event against Marlon Moraes. On the same card, last year's light heavyweight winner Rob Wilkinson takes on one of the promotion's big new signings for this year, the former UFC title challenger Thiago Santos. Ireland's Will Fleury is up against Poland's Krzysztof Jotko, but the other two big featherweight contests are the one jumping off the page for me. 2021's tournament winner, the undefeated Movlid Khaybulaev, is back after taking last year off. He faces Japan's Ryoji Kudo, who was a bit of a dark horse last year. You've also got the 2022 finalist Bubba Jenkins facing his fellow American Chris Wade after both men were defeated by Loughnane on his way to winning $1 million. Friday, April 7th, you've got the second instalment of the PFL's regular season. This is the big hitters one with the heavyweights and women's featherweights. In the main event, Larissa Pacheco returns to the PFL after shocking the world last year with the upset defeat of Kayla Harrison. She takes on former Bellator champion Julia Budd. Last year's heavyweight winner Ante Delia is out with an injury, unfortunately, but the other finalist, Matheus Scheffel, will be in action, as will new signing Jorgen De Castro. Brazil's Hanan Ferreira is always one to watch out for with his entering the cage at a staggering 6'8", so says it all really. Saturday, April 8th is the big event from the UFC of this month. That is UFC 287, with the Octagon returning to Miami for the first time in a long time. In the main event, it's another highly anticipated rematch in the UFC as Israel Adesanya looks to reclaim the middleweight title and get revenge on Alex Pereira at long last. The stakes simply don't get any bigger than this matchup. Reverting back to the question, does Pereira just have Izzy's number? We are going to find out. The co-main event features the King of Miami, Jorge Masvidal, returning the cage to face Gilbert Burns in what could be a big fight for the welterweight division. Elsewhere on the card, you've got the likes of Adrian Yanez versus Rob Font, which that just shows you how good the bantamweight division is right now. Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio is sure to be a banger, and Raul Rosas Jr. is looking to make it a second win under the UFC banner. Friday, April 14th, PFL number 3. You've got the lightweights and welterweights taking centre stage with some really big matchups. Last year's lightweight winner Olivier Aubin-Mercier will face the division's hottest signing Shane Burgos in a guaranteed brilliant matchup. The card also features the likes of last year's welterweight winner Sadibou C, Scotland's Stevie Ray, the returning Clay Collard, and a matchup between the welterweight finalist Delano Taylor and the undefeated Russian Magomed Umalatov. LFA 156 goes down on the same night. We will always give them a shout on the MMA calendar. Their event's super easy to watch via UFC Fight Pass, and their track record for producing talent that goes on to bigger and better things is ridiculous. This particular installment, you've got a welterweight main event between Jalen Fuller and Trey Waters, plus the highly anticipated LFA debut of undefeated wrestling specialist Richie Lewis, who, if you follow him on social media, has been spending some time out in Las Vegas with Conor McGregor and coach John Kavanagh. Saturday, April 15th, you've got Cage Warriors 152 live from Manchester. As expected with the card's location, you've got a lot of the promotion's top talent from the north of the UK. Next Generation MMA is going to have a huge footprint on this card with the likes of Luke Riley, Nathan Fletcher and Adam Cullen. In the main event, George Hardwick looks to defend his lightweight title for the second time when he faces KSW vet Jan Lees in a fantastic matchup between two of Europe's top competitors that we cannot wait for. Octagon 41 on the same night. Again, another promotion we love to shout out because their events are so entertaining. This one is live from the Czech Republic, so you can expect a massive show headlined by the bantamweight title fight unification. And as a bonus, if you've got DAZN to watch PFL or maybe the AJ fight on Matchroom Boxing, then you can get it on there. On the same night as Cage Warriors, this one might not be in the UK, but it could be a big night for UK MMA. You've got the UFC Fight Night live from Kansas City, where the UK could gain another title challenger as Arnold Allen takes on the former featherweight king Max Holloway in... cannot wait for this one. For a Fight Night card, there's some really good matchups on here as well. You've got Billy Quarantillo versus Edson Barboza, which is going to be a lot of fun. Pedro Munoz versus Chris Gutierrez again. The bantamweight division killing it, and Brandon Royval versus Mateus Nicolau is a sleeper of a fight that is absolutely huge for the flyweight division. Friday, April 21st, you've got Bellator 294. Bellator have actually got back-to-back cards this weekend. The Friday is definitely the weaker of the two, but The Saturday card is fantastic, which is why I say that. On this Friday night, you've got Liz Carmouche looking to defend her flyweight title against Deanna Bennett. Danny Sabatello is back on this card. You've got Ireland's Carl Moore taking on Alex Polizzi. One Championship's big event of the month happens on April 21st as well, One Fight Night 9 on Prime Video. This card isn't the most stacked one that they've put together so far this year, but let me tell you one word that might change your mind. Lumpini. Every single event that One Championship have hosted there on their One Friday Fight series has been absolutely amazing. Instant classics all over the place. And so this one should be no different. The main event as well is going to produce an absolute war, I am sure of it. You've got the bantamweight Muay Thai king, Nongo Hama, taking on the former flyweight champ, Jonathan the General Haggerty. Love it. Dream matchup stuff. Saturday, April 22nd, the UFC is back with the UFC Fight Night. Sergey Pavlovich versus Curtis Blaydes is your main event, likely to produce the next heavyweight #1 contender. Song Yadong versus Ricky Simone is a really good featherweight matchup. Bobby Green's on this card, you're always going to watch him. And of course, Jared Gordon is his opponent, who's being talked about a lot. You've got Muhammad Usman versus Junior Tafa, which I think is one of the more interesting heavyweight matchups they've put together in a while. So plenty to get stuck into there. But Bellator 295 is going to be the event that steals a lot of the headlines on this particular night. Again, the second event as part of their doubleheader. One of their strongest cards in a long time, in my opinion. You've got Ralphion Stotts versus Patchy Mix in the final of the Bantamweight tournament, which really feels like the best outcome for them. Should produce an incredible fight. This card is live from Hawaii, so you know Alima Lee McFarlane is going to get a great response. You've got Ray Borg versus Kyuji Horiguchi on this card, which is fantastic. Aaron Pico is back in action on this one, as is Mads Burnell. As things stand at the time of writing this calendar, this Bellator card is shaping up to be one of their best cards of the year, and to be honest, one of their best matched cards in quite some time. The final night of April that brings you some top MMA competition is April 29th. You've got Cage Warriors 153 on this night. Cage Warriors returning to Dublin right at the end of the month with a card stacked full of talent from the Emerald Isles. The top 3 fights in particular, I think, are going to produce Cage Warriors classics. You've got Ryan Shelley versus Tobias Harila, which should be a war. Oban Elliott taking on James Sheehan is a huge fight for that division, and the main event is one of the best fights they've put together in a long time. After shocking the world by winning the interim title and knocking out Matt Figlak, UK MMA legend Jimmy Warled looks to keep that rocky story going when he faces Ireland's own Rhys McKee on his home turf. This is one of the best matchups they've put together, as I said. Rhys McKee coming off of that fight of the year against Justin Burlington. Jimmy Warled coming off of a run that you can only describe as Rocky-like. The narratives going into this one alone. Octagon 42 on the same night is shaping up to be one of their biggest events of the year. It is live from Bratislava. In the main event, you've got the undefeated and very highly thought of Lucine Keita taking on Mate Sanikidze for the featherweight title. Might have got that wrong. I do apologise. Whilst it's very unfortunate that the grudge match between Vlasto Chepo and Mateusz Penaz is off this card, it's still a really good one. You've got Next Generation MMA's Shamrock debuting as well for the UK fans, so you better tune in for him alone. And finally, you've got a UFC Fight Night to round out the month. In the main event, you've got Arman Sarukian taking on Renato Moicano. This is quite a hardcore fans fight night, I think. The main event tells you that alone. A lot of unknown quantities or fighters we haven't seen too much in the UFC on this card. But the thing to always keep in mind when you have events like this is sometimes they can turn out to be the most exciting ones where you have a bunch of competitors you don't know too much about and you end up kind of getting to see them really make a statement in the UFC and you can follow their careers from there. So definitely doesn't mean skip past it. That is all for April, but let me tell you, the first weekend of May is a big one, with Cage Warriors coming to Rome, One Championship arriving in the US for the very first time, and Henry Cejudo returning at UFC 288. So we will join you for the MMA calendar next month. Enjoy the fights.